So our first paper is from Felix Klee, theme of ecological transition and sustainability transformation. So we're going to have Felix come up and we'll get this party started. Did you all enjoy the first day of the conference? All right. It was. I heard the end was great. I saw beers were coming out and things like that. Not for the students though. Yeah. No, this is amazing. So we're happy to have you at day 2, and the rest of the week will continue to be amazing. So.
So Rodney and the gang, while you're setting up, we're looking at a sort of black screen here. You might need to check your OBS, what's going on there.
So Cindy, I was just mentioning to everybody that you have a great singing voice. I don't want to put you on the spot. She did a poem for us yesterday. So we've been doing research presentations for the last 2 days. So that was all of the participants got an opportunity to present. And it was some extremely great work in that. So I learned a lot, and I'm excited to get to know the presenters and, pick their brain and gather some expertise. But Peter and Cindy, you might want to give a little introduction or a hello, because everyone can see you now. So.
Yes, and we can see that you can see you now. It's great to be with you from a distance, as these sort of weird talking heads coming across the oceans and across the internet to you good folks in FAB23.
You have great glasses, Peter, by the way.
Oh yeah, they're Japanese. Thank you.
Awesome. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, lovely to be here also. And it's nice to see the stage, at least, to get some kind of idea of the context there. And really sorry that I can't be there, but happy to be able to join in this way. And maybe some spoken word for the delays, because I don't know if I can get this incredibly fine singing voice going.
Sounds good. Your hair looks great today, too, by the way. Felix.
Oh, the audience. Oh, fantastic.
Oh, you can see? Oh, fantastic. Say hello, everyone. It's a nice group. Yeah. There's some future researchers in here, so we're going to be excited about that. Felix, do you want to introduce yourself and give an introduction where you're from, and then we'll get started with your slide presentation.
Okay, my name is Felix Klee. I'm with Dim Sum Labs Hong Kong, which is a hackerspace, so kind of different than this Fab Labs. We have a bunch of junk in our space that we try to manage and make use for us. And I want to present about living architecture, making it architectural scale. I'm happy that this is a featured paper here, although I would say it does not necessarily live up to the academic standards of some of the other papers. It's probably a little bit more casual, but I think the topic is important. It's basically about scaling up, going to a different length scale, going to architectural scale, and doing so not only in a sustainable way, but in a regenerative way. And the paper looks at various places that could be interesting, but there is no location yet found where this can be done. So let me explain with this picture a little bit about living architecture, because I guess not everyone is aware what this is. So this is building with the building is a living organism. So this is different from, say, like facade greening, where you put a green like a nature on a building. Here the building is the organism. So in this case, this is actually just south of Bhutan, in Meghalaya in India. This is a living bridge, so it gets built out of bamboo, and then aerial roots of the Ficus elastica, the rubber tree, are guided over it, and over decades it transforms from a dead bridge into a living bridge. And this And in the meantime, you can use it. So in the case of living architecture, it's less about designing a finished building. It's about designing a process, a transformation process, and also thinking about future generations, which is quite remarkable because the people who plan this bridge maybe will never experience it like when it's fully grown. So it takes a few decades, and in the meantime, you have to replace the bamboo and so on. And there are various advantages to this, especially this is the region with the highest rainfall in the world, so it's very highly corrosive climate. There are now some bridges built for tourists to get to these, for example, out of concrete and steel, and they're already not in good shape anymore, even after a few years. So, of course, these trees love to grow there. They get just stronger over time, and they also prevent, for example, landslides. Because they reinforce the river banks. So it's kind of the opposite of standard architecture. Oh yeah. So in the last like 10 or 20 years, there has been some kind of more research going onto this. I mean, there have been ideas about building with living trees for a long time, like it goes back at least 100 years, if not much longer, building actual houses and so on. But in the last 10 to 20 years, there was especially a group in Germany around Professor Ferdinand Ludwig, and they looked at it from a very engineering point of view. And this is one of their, what they built. It's a building from Ludwig and Schönle, where they put, they created a metal frame and then put containers at various layers, planted saplings, and screwed them together using to encourage inosculation, which means that the plants grow together and eventually form one organism. And eventually, you could remove these containers and also somehow the metal frame, which I don't know how it's going to work, but that's at least the plan. And yeah, here, of course, it's very heavily guided. I think what is actually interesting about living architecture is that you also have the tree as kind of a co-creator, or could even say a third intelligence, because the tree makes its own decisions. It not only assembles itself out of carbon in the air, it also makes design decisions, which are also interesting to look at and which is actually done. So now let me get to the making part, because this is still like doing these things is now in the hands of academia or established architecture firms. And the thesis of this paper is that it's interesting to bring amateurs into this field and unleash their creativity, because this has happened in other fields. Fab Labs enable giving amateurs a way to use previously very expensive prototyping machines, and out of this came, I would say, a lot of the IoT devices. This is an example here. This is a musical instrument makers meetup in Berlin, which is hosted by a company that came out of the Fab Lab of Berlin, and they're producing wearable metronome, wearable music technology. And they understand the value of amateurs, and then they host this meetup, and then new stuff is developed. So I'm not sure how the timing is. There is nothing on this. Oh, okay, then, yeah, I also want to mention in architecture, I think we're all, of course, users of architecture, so we all have an opinion. And I think it's interesting if we bring the general public into this and encourage them to think and to contribute and also build at this scale, which is also a different experience than just building in a Fab Lab. You do all things at desktop scale. If you build with your whole body, it's a different experience, and you're facing new challenges. And as a result, also some new products can come out that you didn't think before. For example, I don't know, like sensors or something that you need to measure the growth of the trees. So this, and then I try to give it some kind of, say, scientific varnish by creating a comparison table. So I look at 6 different categories, and then I look at places that I have actually interacted with and I've visited. So the first one is climate zone, Then we're looking at what plants are available. Then the scaffolding material. Bamboo is a great scaffolding material. For example, it's in Hong Kong. It's readily available because all the skyscrapers are actually, the scaffolding is made out of bamboo for everything. In other places, it's not easily available, but there are other materials like recycled timber or something. Then creative freedom. There, of course, at the national level, you have building codes. I understand in Bhutan, for example, houses have to look a certain way. And these building codes, of course, make sense. But so we want to have, if you have such a space, we want to have maximum creative freedom. And then maybe to work, we partner with an organization. They have a space, and then this question is how much freedom they give us. Then accessibility is important to build a community. If the place is really remote, it's really hard. Here again, Hong Kong is good because you have 7.5 million people, and even if 1 in a million is interested in a topic, we have at least like 7 people who would come regularly to meetups, for example. And then experiential factor, that's it's important when you build something that you experience it, that you work with it. That ideally it's about problems that you understand or that are for you or your peers. So, for example, if you're designing a residential building, then ideally you could live in it, which of course is a kind of a hard constraint to fulfill, but there are some places where this may be possible. So I would like to see the timing because then I can slowly go through some of the slides. 2 minutes, okay. Yeah, let me see. So this was actually, we did some, in Hong Kong at the moment, there is maybe the possibility to do something at one place, it's called Arc Eden. Where there is, but unfortunately there's only one site, and then again it's the thing that we can build one thing there, but not necessarily experience that much. So this is just a prototyping session, which I'm going to do another session here tomorrow. This is, let me just quickly go to some places. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we did some experiments in a botanical garden in Lancetilla, that's in Honduras. I gave workshops in a Dream Space Academy that's in Sri Lanka. That's actually an experimental structure where I gave a hand with building. That's also in Meghalaya. And I would say, yeah, this is maybe something worth mentioning. This is the area where the living bridges are, and these people are the elders, and some of them are maintaining their own bridges. And there was a project, a collaboration, which I'm not officially part of, but between the Technical University of Munich and the local university near Hu there, where a living pavilion was designed and built to celebrate this culture. And I would say, in a way, they also have some kind of hacking culture there, because these bridges now are tourist magnets. And they're all trying to improve their bridges, add cool features and so on, like adding a second layer or whatnot, or adding steps to go up living. Yeah. So this is cyber hippie totalism. That's a hack base where you can actually encourage to live in, but then there is no permanent space, so that's a bit of a challenge. Although you could think, in a way, this living architecture also allows you to hack building codes, because you can just plan something somewhere and then maybe later use it. So this is a chaos communication camp. That's a temporary thing. That's really hard to do something living. And then I'm going to give a workshop tomorrow about living architecture, where we look at this site, which is in Gelefu, where was part of the Sprouts versus Monsoon Challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. If you have questions for Peter, please see him after the presentation is, I'm sorry, Peter, I'm thinking of you. Felix, if you have questions for Felix, please feel free to talk with him after the presentations are complete. Oh, I guess we're going to do a little Q&A. Does anyone in the audience have questions? I'll come down and ask. Question? Hello, Adam.
Good morning, everybody. You used the term inostrulation. Okay, so it's, I guess the question would be...
Inosculation.
Okay, INAUSTRALATION.
No,
It-
no.
no.
INOS. Yeah. SCU. Yeah, LA.
Okay, let's talk about it later. Could you elaborate on the term? It might be the first time some of us have heard it. And it sounds, if I remember the context, that's when plants grow together, like graft together. To
Yeah,
create
exactly. When they grow together. So in the case of these Ficus elastica, those are strangler figs. Maybe you've seen some. I'm not sure if they're in Timpo, but down in Gelefu certainly. Yeah, their roots like to grow together. And other trees, you also see this in many trees, but some like to grow together love it more than others. And you can force this by tying them together or screwing them together.
Okay, that's exactly what I was hoping for. Some elaboration on the term. It might be the first time we've heard it. And it does work across species sometimes, depending on the species.
Yeah, that's, I think, generally these experiments that have been conducted so far, and of course the bridges, that's normally one species. But that's also something worth to explore. I mean, there's so much potential. So it's, yeah.
Cool. Cool idea. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jiwan Siwakoti. I'm running a consultancy firm in Bhutan. I would like to make a humble request to you. I think there is a great opportunity in Bhutan for urban gardening, urban farming or urban gardening, which could be simulated with urban architecture also.
Yeah,
In
I think
subsequent presentations or in future, if you could kindly touch on that topic also. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I think it's because we're normally removing ecosystems and putting architecture there, but it's interesting to transform an ecosystem so that it gives space for us to live, and that would of course include that we have maybe fruits that we can eat and so on.
Awesome. Any other questions? Oh. I'm going to go here, then I'll come back there.
Thank you very much. One of the topics that's gaining prominence with respect to the built environment is the resilience of infrastructure to withstand more extreme weather events, and there's a particular field of study, nature-based solutions. I'm wondering if you could comment on some of these approaches with respect to helping to enhance the resilience of buildings or roads, or I love the bridge example as well. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, as I mentioned, these bridges, they grow stronger over time, and there have also been studies that to prevent landslides, for example, because the roots grow stronger and reinforce the river banks. So that's a great example. And of course, yeah, it's the opposite of regular architecture where things rot. Here, it just gets better over time.
Awesome. Fantastic. We're going to take one more question.
I really enjoyed your presentation, so thank you. I had a question about blighted structures. So is there any research done on blighted structures that can be turned into living architecture?
Braided structures?
Blighted structures, so buildings that have turned into blighted structures. So they might be buildings that are falling apart, or there are trees growing like through the middle of the building, for example, or plants overgrowing the building.
Oh yeah, plants overgrowing a building, of course, that's interesting. Oh, I could have shown an example. In Hong Kong, there's the Cam Tin tree house, where there was a neglected building, and it's just completely replaced by the tree, including all the rooms. I mean, it's not a super big building, but that happens, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Felix. I obviously have Peter on my mind. I'm calling everybody Peter, so I'm going to not do that anymore. Next up, we're going to have Milan Thomas.
Milan, we can't find your PowerPoint. Do you have it? Yeah, okay.
It's on this flash drive, I believe.
It's on this one. Okay.
Oh, excuse me. Peter and Cindy, are you?
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Was that Cindy? Oh, she's here.
I'm doing just fine. And
Siri's also here, Cindy.
excited.
Is Alexa here too? Cindy, are you guys okay? We're having fun. Yeah, I keep calling everybody Peter. I gotta fix it. You're on my mind, Peter. So we're gonna have Milan Thomas up next. I heard Milan yesterday. Phenomenal. We were kind of rushed yesterday, so today they can give their spiel. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Milan Thomas. I'm an economist at the Asian Development Bank here in Thimphu, Bhutan. You may notice that there's a difference in the title from what you saw earlier projected, and that's because this paper has been radically reinvented and reimagined thanks to the encouragement of the conference organizers. So thank you to Peter and Cindy. I think this is a thoughtful paper. I mean, I'm biased, but we're gonna submit this to the Journal of Bhutan Studies later in the year, and I hope that you find this interesting. I also want to thank the challenge participants who were very generous with their time, giving me data and insights into the work that they've done in the past week. We've done a rapid evaluation, and I'm excited to show you what the findings are. Also want to thank Namgyal Gyaltsen, who is one of the lead organizers of FAB23. We had many conversations over the past months about this conference, and it made me realize that FAB Bhutan Challenge can be thought of as an investment portfolio for innovation. So let's get into it. Investing in innovation makes sense because it generates public goods for society's benefits. Also, scientific discovery has intrinsic value, of course. But when we use public funds to support innovation challenges, innovation funds, hackathons, it's important to know whether it's economically justified as well. The World Bank, Gates Foundation, places like that spend billions of dollars every year supporting innovation. Is it worth it? So I realized that the FAB Bhutan Challenge is an opportunity to answer this question empirically, because you can see FAB Bhutan Challenge as an innovation portfolio. There are a set of investments. You put in time, you put in money, and you hope that some of them pan out. So let's study FBC as an investment innovation portfolio. I'm going to lead with a disclaimer that this is an evolving evaluation. The challenge solutions, you've probably seen their presentations. They're shaping up really nicely. There are some loose ends to tie up, and the participants have been very busy. So there's some validation we still need to do on certain things. But with that said, what we've done is we look at the expected economic benefits of the challenges in terms of what workers who use the solutions can expect to gain in terms of their productivity. Of course, there are many other benefits from these challenge solutions, right? So lives saved from prevented human-wildlife conflict, the value of cultural preservation from teaching children about weaving. Those things are impossible to value. So, absolutely that's a limitation of this study. But in the meantime, what we can do is look at how much more productive workers who benefit from these challenge solutions will be over the coming years. And what you'll find, I'm not going to hold you in suspense, is that we're talking about million-dollar ideas here. Every dollar invested in solutions generated by this challenge are projected to generate anywhere from $5 to $12 per dollar invested. And I'll show you how we come to that conclusion. I'm not going to spend time explaining to you what the challenges were. There were excellent presentations earlier in the week, and the only way to do justice to the work they've done is to speak to them directly. Are there any challenge participants here in the room right now? Please raise your hand if so that people can approach you later to talk about what you did. I don't see many, but there are some. Okay, yes, some there at the back. So a little bit on the methodology. How do we assess the economic value of FAB Bhutan Challenge? Well, it's basically a benefit cost analysis with some tweaks. We weigh the expected productivity gains from these solutions against the solution costs. So it's a simple comparison. Of course, you're thinking it's impossible to know what the benefits of these solutions are today because they haven't taken hold yet. But we can project the benefits based on the intended beneficiary population, based on impact studies of innovations that were designed for similar issues in similar countries. And then after we do that, we make an adjustment for the probability of a solution being successful. That sounds pretty slick, right? But where do we get the data from? Well, different types of data we get from different sources here. For the subjective probability of success and the costs of developing and implementing these solutions, we talked to the participants directly. For the expected beneficiary population and the status quo income of the people who are expected to benefit from these solutions, I used the Bhutan Living Standards Survey, the Labor Force Survey, and the Population and Housing Census, all of the latest years, so 2022. And then for the expected productivity gains from using these solutions, we did, again, a literature review, and we used that to value how much additional productivity the solution users can expect to gain over the next few years. I encourage you to go through the paper for details, but what I'm showing you here is what exactly it is I'm valuing. So for the first challenge on the monsoon resilient agriculture, what's being valued is that farmers can now have a longer growing season because a solution was developed that allows them to grow chilies and tomatoes even during the heavy rain season. For the second challenge, it's cleaner water, reduced non-revenue water loss, and time savings for plumbers. For the third challenge, it's increased crop yields because farmers are losing less to conflicts with boars and birds. For the textiles, the fourth challenge, it's improved weaver productivity because the team designed a chair that reduces their back pain and allows them to work longer and more efficient. And then for the fifth challenge, it's that special education needs students have higher enrollment rates, higher graduation rates, and higher employment rates because of the positive experiences they have thanks to the assistive learning devices that were developed by the project team. Again, a very limited subset of the benefits that come out of these solutions. There are many other non-valued benefits that are so much more important. Cultural preservation, lives saved, student self-actualization. But we don't put an economic value on that. I'm just doing the economic worker productivity values. After calculating, drum roll, this is what comes out. So here's what comes out. I've generated 5 scenarios here, and these I believe are conservative. So let me explain what you're seeing. If an investment covers its own costs, then it will have a cost-benefit ratio of 1. Okay? What I've generated here are 5 scenarios, and what's different in each scenario is the probability of the solution being successful. So in the first scenario, I've taken what the participants themselves said is the probability of their solution being successful. Unsurprisingly, they're a little bit higher than what one finds empirically, anywhere from between 50 to 90%, but let's go with that, okay? And if that's the case, then the economic return on FAB Bhutan Challenge is $12 per dollar invested. Okay, let's take a little more measured approach. If we use empirical probabilities from past evaluations of similar innovation portfolios, actually the probability of an innovation taking hold is only 33%. Okay, so a lot of things fail. That's the nature of innovation. Things are going to fail. The ones that pay off are going to look great, but most things don't work out. That's what makes it hard. That's why these are challenges, right? They're called challenges for a reason. But even in that case, scenario 2, the empirical probability of success, 33%, you still get a return of $5.50 per dollar invested in the FAB Bhutan Challenge. If you look even more pessimistically at this, scenario 3, only one solution works, and it's the lowest return solution. I won't say which one it is. In that case, still, you get $2 per dollar invested. I think you would take that deal still, right? If I said to you, I'll give you $2 for every dollar you give me, would you take that? Yeah. So what you're seeing here is that, we can look at this very many different ways, but even with the most conservative assumptions, you get a very strong rate of return from the FAB Bhutan Challenge. Yeah. And again, this is conservative because of a few reasons. One is there are unvalued benefits. Also, I've limited the calculations to the challenge sites, and it's very possible that a challenged solution developed in Sarpang could be helpful in Zemgang, right? Like this could go all over the place. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 years, and it could extend beyond 10 years. So, that's all the math, and after the calculations, I want to have a little deeper discussion, and I encourage you to look at the paper for discussion of some deeper issues. One of them is, why hasn't the market solved the challenges already? And I have some hypotheses on that. Another is, based on literature, do we think that these solutions are likely to be sustainable? Likely to be sustainable, and the short answer is yes, for a variety of reasons. But basically, the challenge participants were very cost conscious. They thought about solutions that use cheap, reusable inputs, and these are key ingredients for making innovations sustainable. But please look at the paper for more details on this, because I want to spend my last 2 minutes on what I think is the most important issue, and the issue why that I was so excited to get into this in the first place. What are the implications of FAB Bhutan Challenge for Bhutan's economic development? And I want to focus on this because Bhutan is at a crossroads economically right now. Between 2000 and 2010, it grew at 9%. For the past decade, it's been growing at 6%. I'm talking about GDP growth. And 6% sounds great. The United States would kill to have a 6% growth rate. But Bhutan is a small economy with huge economic aspirations. It has a goal to become a high-income economy by 2034. To achieve that, it needs to grow at double-digit rate for the next 10 years, which is historically unprecedented, aside from by oil revenue economies. So what does this challenge tell us for Bhutan? I think, there's diminishing returns to the capital accumulation-led model for economic growth that Bhutan has pushed for the last 10 years, last 20 years. And investments in roads and power, those are so important. But it's entering a new phase now in which economic growth can only be driven by productivity gains. And these challenges are all about boosting productivity, getting more output per unit of input. So I really believe that that's what the FBC solutions did, and it's a sign that more of this type of guided innovation is necessary for Bhutan to achieve its economic aspirations. To conclude, the bottom lines of this study are pretty cut and dry for now. The projected returns are high, $5 to $12 per dollar spent, depending on what you believe about probability of success. The developed solutions, from my initial cost-benefit analysis, appear extremely cost-effective. Just to give you an example, the electric fencing solution developed under Challenge 3 is 5% of the cost of what local government was asking for in terms of chain link fencing. So these are just very cost-effective solutions that will deliver huge benefits, but at a low cost. It's important to track the impact of these solutions going forward, because although we can do this ex-ante projective study, we can put that in the Journal of Bhutan Studies, that's not success yet, right? What we really need to do is keep track of what comes out of this challenge and do a retrospective paper 10 years from now and show what was achieved. And finally, I think more innovation challenges in Bhutan are important because this is a unique country with unique challenges, and it requires unique people to come and work on those challenges. So thank you for your time. My name is Milan Thomas, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Milan. Questions from the audience? Do we have a question? Fantastic. I didn't know I was going to be able to interact with you all today. So it's exciting.
Yeah, my name is Peter van Rijden. Thank you very much for your interesting talk. It is certainly a very interesting paper, and I would like to study it in detail, but I'm also disappointed because your government has agreed with 169 social economic targets. That is the impact that is important for Bhutan. And it is not only productivity. And I also don't think that the FAB challenge is only about productivity. It is about much more. So it would be great if the bank has that in its identity, that it is not only a development bank for money issues, but it is a development bank for social economic development bank, and that we use the targets as agreed by your government to measure what the impact is of the FAB challenge. And I think it is then much more higher. And that would be nice to have that clear. It's also what your bank agreed in the Addis Ababa conference, that it is not the way to go. This. So,
Thank you, sir. What was your name?
sorry?
Are you serious? His name is Peter?
Peter van der Heijden.
Okay. So there is another Peter. Okay.
It's a lot of Peters.
Yeah. So I see why you were
Peters are-
confused at the beginning, Rodney.
Thank you.
So thank you. First of all, I obviously completely agree with you because on my second slide I said that this is looking at a narrow subset of benefits, right? So I'm with you 100%. 169 indicators, many SDG targets, but jobs and productivity is an important one. And if you look at the Bhutan Living Standards Survey 2022, one of the top concerns of the people in this country is job creation. So I think that this kind of analysis is important because it shows, yes, we can put the cultural preservation value first, we can put the health benefits and the education benefits first, but these things have an economic value as well. And I think that this type of thing is key for making labor and capital more productive in this country, which right now is a major roadblock to continued economic growth. So I think we're in agreement. We can quibble about prioritization and order, but and again, you referred to the bank. I just want to be very clear that I'm here speaking as an individual researcher, and I can say nothing for the Asian Development Bank. But I think that you and I have a lot of agreement on what's important. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm Tomo Watanabe. I'm from Japan. I've heard about your presentation from a colleague of mine yesterday, and I'm really happy that I can hear it. And so my comment/question is, number one, is it correct to assume that when you mean return on investment, it's not that, say, World Bank wants to get the money back when it invests into something, but it's more like how much economic benefits it can generate to the Bhutan economy or Bhutan society. That's correct, right? And number two, my understanding is that you have certain base period out of which you calculate the benefits and the cost. Maybe cost side, only the initial developmental cost, but benefits, how long is your time span is my question, because it also, changes the result. And the little number three question, which might be the most important, what's the typical return on investment for your World Bank project? When you invest $1, how much you get typically? Is that bigger or smaller than these FAB challenges? Thank you.
Thank you for a great set of questions. I'll try to remember all three as I go through. So for the first one, it's a very important clarification that this economic return that I'm referring to is for the country of Bhutan, for the people of Bhutan. It's, the investment is already done, right? And we're talking about what societal benefits will be produced over the next 10 years. Your third question was on time frame. And for that, we go out to 10 years. The only exception I would say is that, for the fifth challenge on the education, we value the lifetime gain in earnings for the special education needs students. That's the only exception. Your second question was, yes, the typical return on investment. So I used the benefit cost ratio measure in this study because I thought that would be easier to talk about with this audience. But the World Bank and the ADB, they use internal rate of return, which is a percentage, not a dollar value return. And typically their hurdle rate is 10%, meaning that as long as a project earns more than 10% return, it's a solid investment. And typically, the return will be somewhere between 10 and 20%. The return to this portfolio is over 200%. Okay, so this is well above what what development banks would expect to gain from an investment. There was a second part to your second question. No.
He actually had a third question, but we're
I answered the third question.
Yeah, we're short on time. We had a question in the back, but this gentleman will come ask you
Yes,
after.
please come ask after. It's wonderful paper.
I'm
Thank you
getting
so
my
much.
steps in. Thank you. So we have one more presentation. It's from somebody named Rodney Williams and Sherry Lassiter. Thank you, Narella. Yes, if you have questions for any of the presenters, please feel free to speak with them afterwards. So, Sherry, you want to kick this off? All right.
Hello. Well, so we were excited and surprised to be chosen. It has nothing to do with the fact that we're the FAB Foundation. Okay. Anyway, back in early 2002, there's we ran across a request for proposal from a new Polish educational foundation, and they're called the Holistic Think Tank. And at any rate, they were looking for a holistic, more humanistic approach to curriculum and curriculum development for K through 12 learners around the world. And so we stepped up to the plate. They chose us out of a group. There were three organizations that were chosen to pursue this. And of course, our goal was to say, can we develop curriculum for the whole child, a holistic curriculum, but that really, really did center on, or at least really develop in very integral ways, technical and digital literacies. And so that was sort of the groundwork. They developed like 10 categories of capstones.
Yes,
of
competencies.
Competencies, right? 10 competencies, and there were something like 49 sub-competencies, and they were around things like, how do you learn? How do you deal with human conflict? How do you there's a rather long list, but they combine sort of disciplinary learning and sort of humanistic values. And so we were awarded a very nice grant, and we went on this. We decided to take all the things that we have learned in graduate school, et cetera, and put them to work. And this is what we came up with.
Yes. So a lot of the competencies remind me of a lot of the challenges that we interacted with when we were here. But the goal was to design a course integrating humanistic, disciplinary, and digital skills and literacy skills. So these are actual templates from our work. We have great work that we've done. We have teachers' guides and all types of things like that. But these are some images of that. If you can go to the next slide for me. So our design approach, we focused on collaboration and expertise. Focusing on then emphasis on 21st century digital skills like digital design, fabrication, and computational thinking. Our curriculum focus was thriving natural communities, so we wanted to tie that in. We thought nature and technology, how to mix those two things, that was important to us. Integration of digital fabrication and project-based learning. In my opinion, I believe that digital fabrication is one of the most engaging ways to learn, especially in the classroom. So it was important to include that. The curriculum development process, we used an approach called Understanding by Design. And then we have a guide for teachers and pilot framework. So this study has not been piloted yet. So if there are educators in the building, we would love for you to try this out. So, yes.
Yeah. I would add that on the very first bullet for collaboration and expertise, we've for a long time we've wanted to test the idea of bringing together an in-classroom teacher for this was for grades 1 through 6, so elementary level, primary school level. And so we brought together, one in-classroom teacher, one digital fabrication educator, and then one sort of higher level, sort of education consultant. And we thought maybe those three together might be a really interesting combination for design development.
Yes, so we had a fantastic group that we worked with. You can go to the next slide, please. So our methodology, you want to talk about this one, Sherry?
It's fine, yeah.
Okay.
So our approach was to be integrated, and so we used interdisciplinary learning and social emotional learning, project-based learning, and digital literacy. And if any of you are familiar with our Scopes project, that sort of maps to the learning progression that we developed for Scopes several years ago. And we really did focus on competencies for the future. So things like empathy and equity, environmental stewardship, et cetera. We did decide that the capstone project or the culminating project was the right approach. You, as a teacher or as a group of educators, you would choose one sort of culminating project, and then you would develop activities that would build up to that final project, and that final project is a group project, whereas all the the other learning activities might be individual learning opportunities. And we decided to focus on, of course, real world solutions, which I think we're all finding is much more meaningful and interesting for young people. And then we do feel like the interdisciplinary curriculum, we want to inspire the educators as well. So there's a piece of professional development that goes with this. And we did have some assumptions for implementation because not every school has, these tools or uses a project-based learning approach. So
Yes. So understanding by design was the framework or approach that we used. It has 3 stages. So stage 1 is identifying desired results. Stage 2 is determining acceptable evidence. And stage 3 is planning learning experiences. So this was the approach or strategy that we used or implemented into our process. It worked out really well for us in terms of when we designed the curriculums.
Okay, and so in the case study that we sort of followed, or one of the courses that we followed, was called Natural Habitats, and this was a particular course designed for grades 1 and 2, very young learners, ages 5 to 8. The thematic focus was really on natural habitats, learning about what is a natural habitat, what is an ecosystem, et cetera. And the competencies, of course, were grounded in these sort of more humanistic, but really emphasizing the connection with nature, with social responsibility, and with interpersonal communication skills. The pedagogy, of course, we had the children craft a community web diagram and incorporated elements of the physical surrounding and created a template that represented the collective community. The capstone was that they had to do, I think, a walking tour in a park or in a natural environment around them, creating sort of learning activities at each sort of station. And it was up to them what they wanted people to learn and how they wanted to engage the public. Of course, we aligned with the UDB framework, and digital fabrication was all over it. It was really wonderful. So.
Yes. These images here are the templates that we use. So these are filled in. So what we're doing here, we're providing the educators, because we know you all's plates are full, but we're providing them with templates that have examples of learning activities in different projects, but it's also open where you can modify and add your own lesson to that template. So here, the framework and implementation. So we have a preparation package, which includes an overview, learning activities, assessment tools, which we found we thought that was very important to have those, and a teacher's guide, which gives a step-by-step walkthrough of how you should go about this project. The syllabi was for different grade bands. As Sherry mentioned, that project that we focused on was for grades 1 and 2, but we had 3, 4, and 5, and 6. But this curriculum can be adjusted to fit K through 12, so it's up to the educator. Assessment methods. We had various assessment methods. We'll get into that in our next slide so you can see those images. I know we're getting short on time. I'm going to skip down to multiple capstones. There were 2 capstones per grade band, so that was great for the educators. And then it ended up being 12 lessons, or 72 lessons total. So
Quite a project.
this screen here, this is just for teachers to kind of fill in, to kind of explore, or to format their projects or activities, so it gives them different boxes to get them started on the framework.
So you would have to, after determining what the capstone is, you figure out in the understanding by design process, you would start with what are the competencies that you want to develop, what are the essential understandings, and once you've determined those 2, then you can develop activities around essential questions that build up to the essential understandings, learning activities, digital fabrication components, and then we had formative and summative assessments and student self-assessments, which was, we think it's really important.
Yes. So the teacher-based assessments we had, but the student-based assessments are very important. So we have something called SWABATS, which is students will be able to. So that's something that's for the teacher. Then we have our I can statements. So we found it very important for students to be able to assess their work. So they do that through I can use a 3D printer, or I can do this. So the student is doing that themselves. We have a rubric for assessment, and we also integrated the learning progression model, which comes from the platform Scopes Digital Fabrication, which can be found online. It's a great platform for educators. If you look here, this is an example of the I can statements. So you don't have to use every statement. You might use design 2 and then electronics 3. There are, I believe, 5 other categories. So you introduce these in for your students so they can assess themselves. This framework here is for the educator, or the rubric. It's interactive, so you pop in the information and it will become interactive and the numbers will change. But this is basic. This is the basis for the rubric for the educators to assess the students. So here's the learning progression. Sherry, did you want to speak to this?
I think we talked about it before, but it's a progression so that the first time you experience digital fabrication or the self-actualization and social emotional learning, project-based learning, every time you go through a project, you revisit these same ideas and you get better and better. That's sort of our assumption, or our theory, is that you get better and better. So you go from a novice all the way up to an advanced sort of expert over time, revisiting these same kinds of ideas.
Yes. In conclusion, we know that this needs further development, so we're open to hearing from the educators and students that are in the building to get their perspective. Piloting, like we mentioned, if you're open to piloting this, please let us know. We have all the documents in a folder we can share with you. We definitely felt the holistic approach was important, and technology integration, educational reform, and then we know that this is going to be iterative, so we're going to have to keep getting it better, making it better, and then collaborative and joint efforts. So we want educators, policymakers, stakeholders to be involved in this process because we believe that's important.
Thank you.
Yep.
This is for the this is just acknowledging the holistic think tank for the both the grant and the work, the research that they did to help us get here. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Cindy and Peter, are you still there? Okay. Are there any questions from the audience? I know we're cutting it close on time, so if you have questions for Sherry and I, we can take them outside of this. Peter and Cindy, I'm going to turn it over to you all.
Yes, thank you, because we've got one last important step to make this morning in Bhutan. We're going to announce the best paper award. Drum rolls. Cindy, put on your singing voice and your clapping hands and your musical affordances that you bring with us from the high Nordics. We selected those 3 papers that we just listened to as broad representatives of what the FAB research is about, and the relations with other disciplines that we think are very important. And we found one paper, and Cindy, you're going to announce the authors and the title, please. We found one paper that beautifully integrates in a way the tradition where FAB has come in from and the roots. Personally and globally, where FAB probably will move to. And Cindy, what's the title of this paper?
Yes, happy to announce the paper is called Integrating Electronic Circuit Design and Fabrication in a Design Studio, discussing hands-on learning approach to engage undergraduate students in ecologically relevant design. So I know that the first author, Saverio Silli, is there.
Yes,
And
yes.
I hope he can come on stage to wave hello with his co-authors, Francesca Valsecchi.
The prize is it's a fancy dinner tonight.
Oh no, it's a surprise. I would have wear my best clothes. Thank you.
So we were very impressed by your approach to sort of teach students electronics design really from scratch, but then applying that into empathy and interaction with nature that goes way beyond just designing electronic circuits. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Should I say something? It's a new thing we are doing. I mean, it's a first approach. This is only the second time we did this course in the College of Design and Innovation in Tongji University in Shanghai, and it's the first step. I mean, we want to do more and more and more, and we are redesigning it all the time. So this paper is only the review of what we did in these first 2 semesters, but more will come because this research is interesting and it's giving results. So we will have more results to share. Thank you.
Big applause.
Yes, thank you to all the participants. If you can put the final screen up, we're going to have a QR code. Please submit your work. It's important. You know, there's so many great papers out there. Please submit them. Oh, wrong screen. Yeah, please submit your work. It's important. If you've done something, we want to hear it, or we want to read it. We want to hear about it. Cindy and Peter, do you have anything? We're going to be closing out. Do you have anything you want to add?
Just wish you a great day there.
Yep, exactly. And the research papers, the themes are often quite the same, but there's always some adjustment to the particular theme of the FabX event.
Thank you.
So, of course, this year being Emergent Futures, next year, Mexico.
Yes. Please scan this code if you're interested in submitting. And you can also reach out to Peter and Cindy, or you can speak to myself. Thank you all so much. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
So our next speaker and our next subject is this wonderful new project called Fab in a Box. I'd like to introduce Jain. Suchit is Vice President for Strategy and Business Development at SolidWorks Dassault Systems. SolidWorks was probably the very first organization to invest in education with digital fabrication through the FAB Foundation many years ago. And that partnership has grown over time. They are also amazing research partners with the Center for Bits and Atoms at MIT. So Suchit, shall we share the video first and then you want to talk?
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Well, I'm fortunate to be here, so thank you to Neil, Sherry, Fab Lab organization, and of course Bhutan here and the Bhutan Fab Lab to have it here. I'm enjoying my time. So I wanted to start, give you a little bit, okay. Oh, sorry. Let's go back. So yeah, my name is Suchit Jain. I'm Vice President of Strategy Business Development for Dassault Systems. And I'll tell you a little bit about Dassault Systems, but more importantly, what we have been doing in leading up to this Fab in a Box story with Fab Foundation and MIT CBA. So I think since yesterday we have heard a lot about STEM, STEAM, about product design making. This conference is about that. One of the philosophies we have at Dassault Systems, at SolidWorks, is that designing and making is not just about science or engineering, but there's the art, and the experience is very important because ultimately whatever you're producing, whatever you are making, has to have the experience, and experience includes visual and social impact and all of those kinds of things. So remember, science, art, and technology is something which we focus quite a bit on. And at Dassault Systems, we also talk about something called as virtual twin experience of everything. So this is what we believe, that as the products we make, products have a life cycle, right? You're making something not just for today, but for tomorrow and so on. It continues. So the virtual twin is the idea that we can virtually have everything physical. You're going to make all the behaviors, everything on digitally. You're capturing them digitally, and then that way you can simulate in virtual the real life experience, if you will, which makes everything better. You have to make, our philosophy is that that when you produce something, it should work right the very first time. So Dassault Systems, this conference is about making, Fab Lab is about making, and I can say that if you look around yourselves here, whether the shoes you're wearing, the plane you flew in, perhaps the jewelry you're wearing, or the watch you are wearing, it's 50 to 60% of everything created in the world touches our software. So these companies who are producing these things are using our software to design it. So at Dassault Systems, we are close to 21,000 people, a lot of them engineers, people working who started in schools and so on and now working within our company. And so it is in our DNA to work with education, engineering and all that. It's a very purpose-driven company, as we say. We are across the world. We have headquarters in Paris. We are based out in Boston. Waltham work very closely with MIT. We have Fab Labs across the world. We have offices across the world. We'll talk about it in a second. Something which we are very passionate about, which kind of leads into why we start to work with Fab Foundation, Fab Labs, MIT, is about, Dr. Neil will always talk about not leaving people behind in technology. And so we are very proud to have close to 7 million users of our software across the world innovating, over 300,000 companies. So these are all professional companies, around 300,000, but also we are very proud that over 30,000 universities, community colleges, high schools, and so on, students are using our products to design and create and innovate across. And this kind of, it's leading bit to the story we started with Fab Lab and Foundation. And we say not our customers, but we are, educators, and we are innovators, mentors, artists, students, kind of like the Fab. Every one of you probably sees your picture in here. We work with a lot of our user groups and so on. STEM is very important for us. SolidWorks started in 1995, and from day one, working with the education system has been part and parcel of it. We have products and software starting for kids all the way from 4-year-old to, I'm a kid more than 50 years old, if you will. So we do a lot of work around that. Over 10 million students have used our software. And then way back, I don't remember the exact year, but we got inspired by Dr. Neil Gershenfeld here, and our CEO John Paulo at the time promised that we will make a Fab Lab or fund a Fab Lab in certain part of the world every year. So since then, we have been doing that. We created the Fab Lab Zero is more of an inspiration. That's not where we have worked with Fab Lab Zero in Prabal with Yogesh quite a bit as well. But we started in Rwanda, which actually I was very impressed with the economic study earlier, and we were talking that perhaps we should do the economic impact of what Fab Lab Rwanda has done on the country of Rwanda, and what Fab Lab Bhutan has been doing as well, and then we did in southernmost part of the world. So this is kind of leading up to the story of Fab in a Box, because as Neil was saying yesterday, that Fab Zero is about what perhaps got created at MIT, and that Fab 1.0 is what you can buy. Kind of these Fab Lab, and Fab 2.0 is probably Fab Labs making Fab Labs all the machines. So this idea of how do you bring in STEM and education, accessibility is very, very crucial. So how do we bring technology into the classrooms, if you will, and this concept of putting, rather than students going to a makerspace, why don't we bring that makerspace in the right form factor with the right price points into the classroom? This is what we discussed last year, and I think all the things gelled together with Sherry and the FAB Foundation, CBA, and leading up to the Fab in a Box. Now, we made a big announcement. We have an annual conference every year with nearly 6,000 engineers and so on participating. So we made a big announcement of this Fab in a Box that we will be working together. And here's a little sort of a video on it.
Students earned or making. So if there is a turnkey option at an affordable price for teachers to go and grab that has all of the right machines and tools and equipment for their classroom, that's something that I know the teachers that I work with are going to be interested in.
This got us thinking. We went back to our sketchbook to try and figure out how we could design a solution that was easy to use, compact, cost-effective, and most importantly, makes it fun to learn. Introducing Fab in a Box. From a 3D printer, vinyl cutter, CNC mill, to a Chromebook with easy-to-learn, fun-to-use 3D design tools, including SolidWorks apps for kids, 3D Creator, and 3D Sculptor, to help give some shape to your imagination.
Fab in a Box applies cutting-edge technology from MIT and Dassault Systèmes and brings it to the classroom.
As part of the Fab in a Box project, we've been developing a flexible machine platform that uses a tool changer to allow multiple end effectors to be used with the same motion platform. This means that we can lower down the overall cost and complexity, since most digital fabrication processes share most of the same hardware and control systems. Fab in a Box is a complete turnkey solution that brings a whole new learning pedagogy. It all comes in a reusable, easy-to-unpack box that becomes not only a work surface, but an engaging learning environment for you and your class. Now every teacher and every student can unbox their creativity and learn by making with Fab in a Box.
Yep. So Quentin, you mind coming up? Quentin has a small part. We couldn't bring some of the work they've been doing at the MIT FAB Lab, but do you want to talk about it very quickly?
Sure. So I'm very excited to work on this project. Is that better? No? Good. So I'm very excited to work on this project. I'm also excited to announce that if you want to get a taste for it, there's a workshop tomorrow at 3 p.m. where you learn to build this very simple axis. So it's not the final design, but it gives you a taste of, how educational this project will be, because you get to build the axis completely from scratch, and it was made in a FAB lab entirely. So tomorrow 3 p.m. and thanks for having me on the team.
Thank you. So tomorrow, 3 p.m., you can hear more about this. And, it's not just about the machines. When you get into a classroom, it's a lot more than that, right? So it's a curriculum and everything else. So perhaps, Sherry, you want to talk a little bit about what's next?
Yeah, so this is a really fun project and something we've really wanted to see happen for a long time, because many of the tools and processes of digital fabrication are not accessible to schools and to teachers and to libraries because they're just too expensive, or they're just too hard to use, or whatever. And so the Center for Bits and Atoms, through Quentin and through Neil, it's going to develop the hardware, so to speak. And the idea is that we're really producing a platform that you can turn into whatever machine you can imagine or that you would want. It's kind of based on the Fab Academy idea of designing a machine that does what you want it to do rather than just off the shelf. And so it's a very flexible platform, and we plan, so that's what CPA is going to do. SolidWorks is going to help us with the curriculum development and the teacher's guides, etc. We are aiming for a price point that's under $5,000 for the whole package, which I think really starts to come in, starts to make it very accessible for a lot more people, a lot more teachers, a lot more communities. And then let's see, where was our, put the slide back up? Right, and then of course SolidWorks has other partners who are very interesting that are going to help us disseminate this throughout the world, and so we are looking for sites that are interested in piloting this. I think we have a timeline that's I think we will. It got wiped out. Okay.
Yeah. So I think what we have discussed on the timeline, I don't know what happened to the slide here, but we have been working, we have started the project, securing the funding and things like that. And our goal, we're moving backwards. The goal is to have 20 machines, this under $5,000 Fab in a box, not just the machine, but all the Chromebooks, as we said, and the packaging and everything, which turns into table and chair and all that on in July of 2024. So that means we'll have the test sites ready, all of that, and we will deploy. And then we are looking for a sustainable way to continue to, put it across various schools across the world. So we'll see how that goes. But July 2024 is what our target is for the first batch of these things. So that till then we'll have the machines being developed and also the curriculum being developed. Now, regarding the curriculum, we have an exciting perhaps partner to talk about as well. So maybe, Leah, you want to come up on the stage? So we have a very interesting partner.
Our PowerPoint didn't get quite updated, but if you're interested in piloting or finding out more, we have our email address is fabinabox@fabfoundation.org. So please reach out.
We were looking for a QR code, but we didn't get it in time. And also one of the reasons why this is important for you is because we need distribution mechanism and making mechanism. And we thought that the Fab Labs, the local Fab Labs, can be a good source for that. So if you're interested in participating in this thing, this is where the QR code. And Sherry, do you want to repeat the email again? So fabinabox@fabfoundation.org. Thank you. And so maybe with 2-bit circus, maybe you want to talk about, and we had also talked about running a competition among the people. So call to action, you'll get more information on it. We will have very interesting prizes, including some visits to our annual 3D Experience World, which happens in US. But the idea here is that as we develop curriculum, wouldn't it be great to develop some example projects or products one could make with the constraints of Fab in a Box, toolkit. So 2-bit circus, a little bit about that and how you'll help through the competitions.
So yeah, 2-bits. We have been building analog STEAM labs that were inspired by my first visit to a Fab lab. We work in mostly underserved communities, so I knew that our kids were never going to have access to what I was seeing in the Fab lab. But this changes everything. And we have 300 maker spaces out there that we will be talking to about the Fab in a Box as soon as it's ready. And we've conducted student challenges around the world. We have 80 some chapters, creativity chapters around the world that I think also are going to benefit from this. And the competition that we will run for the Fab Lab in a Box is similar to an Inventors Challenge that we do. There's the student challenge for Games for Change. We manage everything on the West Coast for them. So I'm really excited about this project, especially for the students who will have access based on the price point. And I love working with everybody here. So, and you will be hearing from us about the challenge as soon as it's ready.
So that's it, guys. Thank you. So a couple of call to actions. I'll repeat it again because it's important. We need your help for the distribution part of it. When we are ready, let's say by July next year, we need Fab Labs to help us make this very viral. We hope to have 20,000 of these, not 20 machines, right, across all the. So there's a cost to it, and there's a production and distribution and support mechanisms which we need. The other call to action is the competition we talked about. We will be running a competition where we'll basically specify what the constraints of the machines would be, what would be in the Fab in a Box, and for you to develop some products which then could be used as examples or go along with the curriculum. So that's the other call. You will hear more about it, but we are expecting this group with the ability to make things to be able to do that. Paul. Go ahead, you are loud enough. I will repeat. Maybe if you can introduce yourself as well, Paul.
My name is Paul, and I'm involved in possibly opening a new Fab Lab in Haiti. And I've been working on a policy side of kind of economic development as a former ambassador of Haiti to the United States, and also as a person working on as a funder for many years, funding initiative like this. So I'm trying to tie in my question to you with the two previous presentations I've seen and related to your call for action. So there's so much focus on kids and digital fabrication at the lowest level. Am I hearing here, or is this kind of a lobby for a necessity for digital fabrication to be almost universal in terms of education for all kids across the board, or is it just kind of, isolated projects? So if that's the case, I'm linking this to the presentation the economist made earlier today as far as the projection and the intention of the Bhutanese government as far as 2034, and now the focus on kids. So I'm trying to understand, are we asking here for digital fabrication almost to be mandatory as far as education at the lowest level?
Well, I mean, maybe Neil, you could comment on it. But from my point of view, I think you can't make anything necessary, right? But our goal is to make it, I think, part of education. And we have a great panel on this discussion later on. But part of the education is both the technology and as well as accessibility. And what we are trying to do is to lower the barrier to accessibility across the world, right? And this would be from every place. So, and of course, $5,000 is still very, very high, but I think that cost will keep on coming down.
Yes.
Paul,
In unpacking, the goal is universal access, and it boils down to yes.
Yeah, this is our, we feel like this might be a real opportunity for us to scale in a way that we never have really, approached before. And so we would love for schools and organizations and nations to say, yes, this is mandatory, but we can't mandate that, but we feel like they will pull if we can offer accessibility.
Again, I just want to be certain the soldiers sitting here, us, on the field, it's almost we're asking you guys as far as what is it you're asking us to do on your behalf, as far as understanding the need and the necessity for digital fabrication to be almost mandatory in terms of the curriculum that are being developed across the world. So in that sense, I just want to be certain you, as far as the private sector hat you're wearing, and those of us who are in the research, in developing these technologies, we understand that there's a push for a major policy shift as far as what digital fabrication can be in terms of teaching at the lowest level and moving forward. I just wanted to understand.
I do want to add that everything happens for a good reason. And Paul just mentioned that we've been working with Paul on the Haiti Fab Lab. And the goal of the Haiti Fab Lab was to launch this year, but because of some unforeseen things, it got delayed, which allowed us to provide funding, extra funding for Fab in a Box as well. So everything happens for a good reason. And, we're looking forward to the Haiti Fab Lab. And then, of course, this Fab in a Box project as well.
The Haiti Fab Lab is particularly interesting because it's one of the first 2.0 labs. So the large format machine is from Jens, the laser cutter is from Danielle. The Haiti lab is being done completely as we don't deploy a lab, we deploy machine building of the lab.
Suchit, thank you very much. We're very excited about this. Thank you, Leah. And now I have a very, I think you all met Karen last night, but our very special partner is in this work, especially in the K-12 work, is Karen Rawls, who is the Senior Social Investment Advisor for Chevron. And we have a program that we started out last year that we'd like to talk about. And Karen, I'd love to turn it over to you to talk about the partnership and what we have to announce today, right? So here's a pretty...
Well, while Sherry gets us queued up, I just want to talk a little bit about our partnership with the FAB Foundation. So Chevron and the FAB Foundation started this partnership back in 2014. Where we had just one Fab Lab. We've now exercised that partnership to over 20 labs in Texas, California, Louisiana, Mississippi, and soon to be Fort Valley State and Tallahassee. But it's really about curating and meeting the needs of our stakeholders. So the partnership has evolved over time. So not just we're building Fab Labs, but the labs around the U.S. were instrumental during COVID. They built 20,000 masks for our emergency responders. In addition to, we're about to launch a program. We're going to expand a little bit. Yeah.
Welcome to the Chevron Fab STEM Fellowship Podcast, a tour through Fab Labs and makerspaces across the world to learn about the best practices in teaching STEM and equitable, inclusive, engaging outreach. The Chevron Fab STEM Fellowship is a one-year discovery program for outstanding educators to learn about, create, and promote innovative and inclusive programs that teach STEM using digital fabrication and to engage new and underrepresented student populations in STEM education and careers. Our host for today is Chevron Fab STEM Fellow Nathan Pritchett from Fab Lab Tulsa.
So last year we launched the program and we had hundreds of applicants for 2 spots. This year we're doubling that. We're going to have 4 fellowships. Each fellowship will get a $10,000 stipend and travel to 2 fab labs of their choice. One a Chevron funded fab lab, and then the second one any fab lab in the world. But the program is really designed to share best practices, knowledge sharing, and build an ecosystem for the makerspace. So we're really excited. And the call to action, sign up. We'll be launching the applications in October of this year and announcing it in Mexico City in 2024. So I hope you will join the program. It's a great program. We had 2 great fellows this past year that went to Monterey and Aruba. So these are the first 2 fellows, and we're looking for someone in this audience to be our next 2 fellows. So again, please submit your applications and enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, and now for the other part of the program. Where is it? I found it. Oh, it's here. So we have a couple of announcements today. There you go. So we have a couple of announcements today. As you all know, we are having basically around 50 activities happening throughout the week, which is a lot. So we're going to start a little bit with some of the schedules. Just today alone is 19 activities in the afternoon, which is a lot. So please grab the activities that you really like so that in that way you can maximize your experience during the conference. We have 4 talks happening here at the Dragon Tent. I don't know why it says 15 workshops there. And remember that after the schedule is done, we will have here a movie night that it's basically, I think, is it your favorite movie of Bhutan, Neil? Yes. Okay. So it's Neil's favorite movie of Bhutan. So come and join us here at 7 for Jack in the Classroom. Then I won't highlight, but I think here is a good opportunity for you to actually get a curated program based on the different tracks that we have. We have 5 different tracks. So you can get, if you are interested in youth and education, you can check our curated program about youth and education. Just note that some of the activities there may be not updated. So just double check on the live schedule that we have on the website. We have the technology based on some of the talks and activities that happened today. They're also happening throughout the week. Innovation, sustainability, and community. If you are interested in that one, scan the code. Or you can find some flyers in registration or in the info point before you enter the lab. Here we have also some of them for you to take. Economic opportunity as well, and finalizing with the FAB City curated program if you're interested in that. Well, I think this was not supposed to be today, but if you are interested in a scholarship for FAB Academy, you can basically tag along the FAB Academy team just to get more information, but that will be launched tomorrow. So stay tuned. By the way, if you are interested in the textile exhibition, it's open at the Royal Academy. So if you are near the center of Timpu, you can jump into there and watch the exhibition. One, housekeeping. So on housekeeping, we do need to be like a little bit more mindful of trash. Yesterday, we had a lot of trash all over the place. If you find something, just pick it up. I think it's nice to keep the space clean for everyone. We do have volunteers that are helping, but it's a big space. It's a lot of people, so just be mindful of that. And there's going to be basically we're recycling. So if you have a plastic empty water bottle, just water bottles, you can dump them on the back of the tent near the first tent that it's in the site. So just be here. It's basically Dragon Tent registration right there. Okay. So, and then buses, we have changed a little bit the schedule of the buses just for you to be aware of. So yeah, just be mindful. We are trying to keep up with buses. It's a lot of people. I think the buses are really big.
but just be mindful. There's still taxes if you are in a hurry. So just be aware of that. And we do have a Wi-Fi telecom. Remember that we are not providing Wi-Fi to all attendees from the venue, but we are providing SIM cards with Wi-Fi, and they will be available in the tent, like just beside here. Okay? And now, I am not boring you anymore. Where is Walter? Okay, so we are gonna do something that probably for the Bhutanese people have never seen before in their life. And it will be basically Walter's from Peru. And every year, I don't know from how many years now, but I think since forever, it seems, he has been doing a Fabersize, and it's the most engaging Fabersize of all. So I'll let you with Walter.
Bear with us for a moment. Victor is helping pass some clothes that will help for the activity, and Fran is really working hard to get the video up.
Okay, get ready for Walter.
So I'm going to explain the activity because you know Walter has speaking English. So the first step is we're going to welcome the llama. So the people that have the clothes in the middle need to wave it. Later, you will wave the clothes and then throw it to another person like this, like that. So every 10 seconds, you need to throw it around so someone else can wave it.
So throw it. Start throwing your throw it. Throw it to another person. Throw it. There you go. There you go. Throw it. Get it and throw it.
Tour the wall.
Let's get ready.
Tour the wall. Que tire la lana en inglés. Tour the wall. Tour the wall, Víctor. Tira las lanas.
So everything.
los mato, digo que se las queden, los que tienen que... Be careful.
So whoever catch the clothes, now you can keep it, thanks to Walter. Apparently, everyone is part of the biggest loom in Bhutan now.
Thank you, Bhutan. Lama, que traigan la llama. Que venga la lama. La llama.
If anyone can bring the llama to the front.
The llama, can you bring it to the front? Yeah. You can keep the cloths and you can keep the yarns, but the llama, no. Okay, so, Walter, good? Okay. Woo!
Thank you for your love. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Norella.
Okay, Walter will, in a little while, help clean up. So thank you so much. Right now we're going to lunch, but to a little break. I don't know what time is it. The symposium will start at 12:30. So we have 11:45. Okay, so we have a couple of minutes. Get some water, get some coffee, and we'll be back at 12:30 here for Youth and Education Symposium.